That's why. Yeah, okay. You anything to add?
Chair, just one other point. The annual activity report for the RPC has been produced by way of a video, and some councillors and members of the RPC were interviewed for that. Looks pretty good, and that will be coming to the RPC for final sign-off at their upcoming meeting.
Any questions from councillors? Mr Mohi?
There's been a lot of email traffic since this last Regional Planning Committee meeting, and I think it's really a dangerous precedent to be taking large group email discussions outside of meetings. I think they should be held in meetings. So I'm wondering, as a suggestion that intended to help, whether we start doing undisclosed recipient emails. So if there's an email coming out from council with just a heading RPC committee members, so that there can't be just this automatic reply all dialogue, which has become, in my opinion, very unhealthy and not respectful. I just think it's disrespectful to the whole committee, actually. It's just looking at other ways forward where we could be sharpening up.
Point taken.
So maybe as an action.
Well, you can only control what happens at your end, can't you, councillor?
Well, the action being BCC all of these emails that come out of the council.
Okay, thank you. Someone happy to move? You happy to move, Councillor Dick? Thank you. And a seconder for that. Councillor Pipe, thank you. You wish to speak? No speakers. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. The contrary, no. Carried. Let's try another one. Item 11, recommendations from the Maori Committee. You wish to add anything here, Mr Mohi?
Just to say that it was Viv Mole's last meeting as the Human Resources Officer in terms of dealing with the Maori Committee because of his the health and safety duties. He's had to give that section of his work up, and there was a wide acclaim from the members, especially myself. I've been involved with Viv for 15 years of his 26 years doing this job, so he's held in very high regard. I did give him one of my personal ties, which I had been lining up to give to Councillor Graham, but that seemed to be a waste of time. Just in terms of the one of the nominations, recommendations, that at the end of the meeting, and this is, we were getting behind the scenes a little bit of a angst, as it was, from one of the co-chairs of the Regional Planning Committee to do away with the Maori Committee and have that committee do both tasks. So the conversation went around as to actually having perhaps one of the Regional Planning Committee Māori members from each of the tai whenua sitting on the next trianthem, whatever they call, for the next period, if indeed the Māori Committee carries on. And the decision for the Māori Committee to carry on into the next term will be the decision of the incoming council, as I understand. Yeah. So that was considered and also behind the scenes talked about. Two of the tai whenua chairs were present on the Māori Committee, and they said they liked the concept. But the recommendation is that the four tai whenua themselves will decide the composition of the three delegates from each of the tai whenua. So, so that was about it, Mr Chair. The recommendations are there before you.
Kia ora. Okay, any questions, Mr Mohi? Councillor Scott.
Just with regard to that last recommendation, Mr Chair, well, it's not a formal recommendation here, is it? Yes, it is. It does require, does it not, a review of the terms of the charter to achieve that, but I think that's a fairly simple matter, isn't it? Because the appointments to that committee were very prescriptive and a lot of those bodies have now disappeared, have they not?
Yeah, I'm working on that terms reference with one of the staff tomorrow, and that'll just be in a draft form for recommendation of the new committee, new councillor, sorry.
Thank you. In terms of reference will be crucial here.
And
Councillor
just on the matter of ties, I hope you'll all note the nice tie that Mr Moe is porting today.
That was an exchange with a box of matches and a tomahawk.
Got a pig.
Very good. Okay. Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Someone happy to move that we accept these recommendations then? Thank you, Councillor Scott. We have a seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Barker. You wish to speak, Councillor Scott?
I would just like to acknowledge the work of this committee over this term of council, Mr Chairman, and the role that the chairman of that committee has played in contributing to the wellbeing of the council. So I think that it's been a very satisfactory term, and I'd just like to commend their work.
Councillor Barker? Other speak, Councillor Graham.
I'd just like to say that I'm a very strong supporter of this committee, and I will be if the people of Hastings want me to do this job again in the next term. It's quite a different committee to the Regional Planning Committee, quite different functions, quite different shareholders, if you look at it like that, represented by the Tai Whenua. At the various Tai Whenuas, and I think it has a really important role to play going forward.
Yeah, I'd just like to take an opportunity to thank Mr Mohi for his guidance and his lack of humour during meetings, etc. But you are always keep us on our toes and offer us guidance when we need it, and quite often we do need a bit. So I thank you for your work over the last 3 years, and wish you well in the next 3 years. Any other speakers?
Yeah, just in conclusion, the Maori Committee really appreciate the councillors' attendance, and also Councillor Scott, who's first came on, I think, 15 years ago. They appreciate the comments that come through during the meetings. It's just sort of, we say, kia whakarangatira ia mātou, which means by your coming, you actually lift our mana up. So thank you very much.
Kia ora. Wish to sum up? No. Put the motion, then all those in favour please say aye. The contrary, no. Carried, and we will now break for morning tea for 10 minutes, please, or thereabouts.